Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne Chisa. So, as you are well aware, we at the Root of the Science podcast, our aim is to amplify Africans in STEM. And I'm your host, Anne Chisa. So, today's episode is a little bit different, but it's also really special. We're taking a look back at 2024, um, and we're highlighting some of our achievements and, taking a look on what's next in 2025. But before we dive into it, I have some exciting news to share. So, the Root of the Science podcast has been recognized as one of the top 100 African podcasts on the web by FeedSpot. And not only that, but we also featured in the top 10 South African science podcasts. This recognition is a huge testament to the power of African storytelling in this field and niche of STEM and science. And I want to give a big thank you to every single listener like you right now, our past guests, as well as our partners, and of course, the most brilliant team who come together to put the show every single time that you turn on the podcast. So now we got that really exciting news out of the way. Let's dive into some of our biggest moments from 2024. So, firstly, touching on our highlights and some of our milestones, 2024 was really a transformative year for the Root of the Science. First of all, we transitioned to Root of the Science Media, and that whole thing was really important because it set the stage for this really incredible growth. Not only are we just a podcast, but we transition into an online science communication digital platform. So we expanded past audio. We launched our YouTube channel where you can see me like you are right now, where we have about 300 subscribers engaging with us with full length videos and, those short snippets as well called shorts on YouTube. We also introduced a newsletter. This was led by Teresa Atieno, which brought really in-depth science stories to our audience because we understand that everybody consumes media in various different ways. So bringing in the video as well as the newsletter, it provided another layer for engagement beyond just the audio experience that you've been used to. And speaking of audios and our past episodes, we released 20 bi-weekly episodes last year, which is really exciting. And it featured guests from across Africa as well as based in other parts of the world, but as long as they identified as Africans. And we really covered some very interesting topics in health and technology, climate change. And I'm just going to run through some of the most standout ones. So what we did is that we had series podcasts such as the polio eradication. This was in collaboration with the World Health Organization, covered by our reporter, Teresa Atieno. And we spoke with Dr. Samuel Usman and Dr. Lola Mabaungi, and we touched on some of the challenges and successes in Nigeria's fight against polio. Then our other series was African Women in AI. Here we highlighted some women in AI, showcasing their pioneering work in quantum AI and natural language processing. We spoke to Olon from Benin and Janelia Rahab from South Africa. Our most prominent series was the Rooted in Health series. This was a wonderful partnership with the Global Health Strategies, and this powerful series really tackled on critical health issues such as cervical cancer, malnutrition, malaria eradication, and we also touched on some digital public infrastructure in healthcare and how that all comes together. We also had a special episode with Neil Watkins from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we spoke about the goalkeepers report that brought critical discussions on malnutrition impacting over 400 million children globally. One of my other favorite series was the Dream Again series, where we celebrated young African women in STEM. This series was quite special. It wasn't a series as such, it was a special episode. So we covered the Tech Innovation Summit held last year in July, where young African women who are young schoolgirls showcase their innovations aligned with the UN Sustainable Goals. We spoke to some really young and exciting young girls who are aspiring to enter into various different disciplines of STEM. So the future is really, really bright. Another feature that we had was the Amplifying Africans in STEM at Lindau 2024. So this was a special also podcast series because I had the privilege of attending the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting, which happened in Germany. And there I spoke to some really incredible young African scientists about quantum physics, AI in physics, energy solutions, and so much more. In our non-series episode, we featured guests who are doing really incredible things, and we had such wonderful conversations on digital safety, sustainable forestry, space science, storytelling, and we touched on FemConnect, its fight against period poverty as well. So that is just an overview of all of the amazing conversations that we had last year that sort of wrapped up our episodes. And each of these conversations showcase the power of African research, innovation, and of course, storytelling. Now, let's get into the podcast growth and just some of our impact. So, our community has grown immensely in 2024, and I'm really, really excited. We have over 21,000 total podcast downloads, which is so exciting because it means that we had people listening in from so many parts of the world. To be more specific, 149 countries, as well as 1,902 cities across the globe. That is incredible. Thank you so much. So 78% of our audience listened via mobile. So meaning that you guys like to listen to us on the go. And the most podcast favorite listening was Apple Podcast. And our main listeners in terms of region, 51% come from Africa, and about 29% of our listenership, which was the second, come from North America. Our most listened country was South Africa. Our most listened country was America. And our most listened city was Johannesburg. Shout out to everyone who tuned in from all of those countries. So this year, we saw some major milestones in our funding and some collaborations. Like I mentioned earlier, we partnered up with Global Health Strategies to do the Rooted in Health series. We were also granted a travel grant by the Lindau Nobel Laureate meetings with support from the Academy of Science South Africa. We also secured small funding from a competition that I won from the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Postgraduate Inspiring Impact Challenge, and we landed a wonderful grant by the Gates Foundation for our work ahead. So some really, really exciting things that are coming up, and I am so excited. These partnerships have been so instrumental in amplifying our impact and bringing more voices into this conversation. So you've heard about everything that's happened. So what's next for 2025? Well, we plan to level up, and here's what you can expect. First of all, we'd really want to scale our content creation by having more episodes as usual, more videos and richer storytelling to really be more visibly available to reach so many other people, particularly on YouTube. We want to grow our reach there. So make sure to share our episodes. to like our pages as well. We'd also love to strengthen partnerships with deepen our collaborations and create even more high impact series. So if you are an organization that would love to partner up with us about how we can communicate some of the incredible work that your organization, your institution are doing in digital science communication, would love to have a conversation with you. Also, another thing that's really close to my heart specifically is the capacity building in terms of science communication training. We've we've been doing it sort of in the background, but now we really want to help roll out with working with partners as well to do workshops for researchers on how they can effectively communicate their science to not only researchers, students, and early career professionals to help them, communicate their science more effectively. We are also excited for more funding opportunities because as much as these things look simple, it requires a lot of funding from behind. So we'll continue seeking for support to grow our platform, improve our production, and also reach a wider audience. So our vision for 2025 is to be a leading platform for amplifying African voices in STEM across the globe and driving action through science communication. So whenever you think of science and science communication in the digital space, you should think of Fruit of the Science Media. So in closing, it's to every single listener, our supporters, our guests, and our partners, thank you for making 2024 an incredible year. Your encouragement you really fuels this platform, and I can't wait to bring you bigger, bolder conversations in 2025. A special thank you to my wonderful team who have been part of this, who really encourage this vision. And don't forget to subscribe, share, follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of our socials. Here's to an even bigger and better 2025. Until next time, it's your girl, Anne with an E. Goodbye.